on the minutes that Sherry Harmon will be taking tonight. Please review the minutes from the last meeting held on February 23rd. When ready, I'll entertain a motion.
Where I was talking about the Alvin fire, which I put in 1975. It's not something that happened like yesterday.
Okay.
The fire occurred in 1975.
There was also a spelling error in the public present. It's Gagny, not O-N. So that's kind of our engine.
With the acceptance of the minutes.
I have a motion to accept the minutes with the correction. Are you going to add that?
Yeah, with the corrections.
Thank you. With the spelling correction and the date addition.
It was 1975, you said?
Yes.
I'll need a second.
I second.
But thank you from a regular member. Any further discussion? All in favor of passing the minutes with the spelling correction and the 1975 addition? All in favor, aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay. Small group updates, community outreach. So Vern, I might have something to add to your outreach, if I may. Okay. So Sherry has been working with Plainfield Public Schools. They will be conducting a child-friendly event on June 4th. Sherry thought it would be a great opportunity to have Ranger Bill come in and do the skull program during that. I reached out to Ranger Bill, and I will admit it was yesterday, via an email, and unfortunately he has already booked that day. So we will have to revisit that. I did tell Ranger Bill though that the summer months are usually quite busy for us as individuals, so we tend to not do quite as many opportunities in the summer months, but that we would definitely look at our schedule because per your report and when I spoke to Bill at the Winter Market, it's really a program tailored and geared towards the youth versus, I mean, I'm sure adults will get stuff out of it too, but so we really want to make sure.
Definitely. Again, he was at our staff meeting last night, and it's his stuff is everybody can walk out of there with more knowledge about something. And he can't. June's busy for him. However, next fall.
Yep. So I think that's what we'll do is we'll look at as things start to settle down for the summer farmers. Not that we're not all farmers all year long, but you know what I mean by crops and what have you. We'll consider that for the fall, so thank you very much. We also have, in May, we will be having Nutmeg Acres. Sherry Harmon will come in and do monarch butterflies. So if you could, Sherry, either did you blast me already, or can you blast me some sort of flyer? Or
Was that your picture? You said thumbs up.
Oh, she sent me a picture. I'm going to go back and find that. Thank you very much. And we'll blast that on Facebook. We really want to hype that up as an opportunity and that people can bring their children. So just to remind everybody, we try to have an abbreviated meeting. That'll be the meeting you'll run, so it'll be good. It'll be an abbreviated meeting. It's usually under 10 minutes, and then the remaining portion of our time is spent with our presenter. So anything else, Vern?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
He's talking September, October. And
all right. We'll try to revisit, maybe, we don't meet in July, so maybe in the June meeting, we should kind of think about it. Okay. Excellent. Up next is scholarship and fundraising.
Well, you did really well.
We did, I have final numbers. Okay, so I apologize that it wasn't emailed and wasn't included in the original packet, but I have given you kind of like our own financial report that I keep, because remember, everything that we do, we are fundraising ourselves or we are earning revenue for ourselves. So while the funds are deposited into the town's, I believe Kelly Vachon said it was the general fund, they just kind of sit in there. They are specific to us because we have fundraised for them. So I do keep track, and I did ask Kelly for an update, so our numbers do jive together. So the top update, I'm gonna hold off on because that's not about scholarships or fundraising. We're gonna look at the bottom bracket, so that's our entirety. So when we first started collecting money for our scholarship fund back in 2016 to now, our current balance is $6,057, and in that time we've awarded $3,000 in scholarships. So we're really doing very well. I'm healthy. And I would like to add that just tonight we received another $100 donation for our Ag Scholarship, and Mike, as his birthday present to himself, but we're just going to say it. Mike had a birthday party, and at his birthday party, he did a 50-50 raffle towards the scholarship, and he deposited with Kelly $575. So thank you very much.
One, give it back.
Yes. Happy birthday to us. Mike celebrates, we all celebrate.
That's it, it's a win-win.
It's a win-win. So, and just to remind everybody, we are working towards the $12,500 endowment. Mike and I chatted, and we are looking for points of contact for bigger local businesses. You know, Amazon's coming in, Lowe's is here, and so we would like to, you know, when things kind of settle down for everybody, reach out to some of these bigger businesses to see if they are willing to make contributions to our Ag Scholarship, because we really do feel that that's who we are as a community. So that's something that we are working on. I will say it was our best yet.
Yes.
This was our highest number of revenue generated in our raffle since we started doing it. Yep, it was $2,396 was donated, I guess we could say donated, by our very generous market goers. And the most, the next highest one was $1,885, so $1,885. So that was pretty impressive. But we didn't have 2 years worth of markets. So we lost 2 years of opportunity to fundraise. So we'll take it. And thanks for your birthday present. Okay, that's all we have for our scholarship and fundraising. Sherry, we are very excited to hear your winter market wrap up.
Okay, so I did not send this to everyone, so I apologize. So we held our market on the 5th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We had 39 vendors in attendance. 2 of those were unable to attend, who had paid for their spots. So we collected a total of $1,020 in vendor fees. We did have a couple carryovers from the 2020 event that was canceled. We did do a vendor survey at the end of the event. 36 out of 39 vendors, and one of those was the food truck who did not do a survey, returned the responses. So I had a couple questions. We asked, have you ever participated in the event before? We actually had 18 new vendors. Some of those would have been first-time vendors for the 2020 event, but because we didn't have that. I asked them to rate their overall experience at this year's event. Very good, good, acceptable, poor, and very poor. So I'll just show you the pictures. I made cute little pie charts. So most people had a very good experience. Good, acceptable, and poor. For the vendor who said it was acceptable, and the poor comment had to do with booth placement for them in particular. How likely are people to participate next year? Definitely, probably, possibly, probably not, definitely not. So that's this one. The majority of everybody said that they would love to participate again next year. How likely are you to encourage others to participate? Again, overwhelming response that they would encourage other vendors. And I did leave a place for comments, so I'm going to,
Can you just, since you are now taking minutes for us, can you insert that whole
Yeah,
document
of course.
into the minutes, and then it's part of public records
Absolutely.
that other people
Yeah.
can see what we do?
yep, that it was well organized, the attendance was great, the advertising was great. Those were a lot of the super, positive comments. There was a good suggestion in here that, people who are volunteering could offer vendors like a bathroom break or to go get them food, which was a great thing that I hadn't thought of. And I really liked that suggestion. There were some comments about spacing, like overall size of the table. Most of them are used to a 10 by 10, so a 6 by 6 was a little tight. But most of them had great sales, and a really positive experience. So my recommendations for next year would be to investigate using the high school's cafeteria and possibly the gymnasium to allow for a bigger space, moving vendor spacing to a 10 by 10, increasing that from $20 to $25 to accommodate that spacing with a maximum of 2 spaces per vendor that they could purchase. I would also like to have us consider moving the market to February for the high school, so that way we don't interfere with basketball season, because that tends to be the biggest issue for March and using school facilities, especially the high school, is that basketball season is already in full swing. I just put a note in here, 20 days before the market, apply for the raffle permit, so we're not sort of running late. Continuing to do the advertising, Turnpike Buyer, Shopper's Guide, sandwich boards, flyers, social media, and using a hashtag. Some of the vendors, when they were sharing events, were like, do you have a particular hashtag for the, I don't, so, and I did not.
And for those of us who do not do social media, I would not even have.
Yeah, I mean.
Hashtag.
Yeah, so, overall, I think a super fantastic.
Hashtag winter market.
Hashtag winter market, exactly. Or winter market 2023 or something like that. So yeah, overall, I think an amazing event.
So I agree with your recommendations. I think that, a bigger space would be helpful. I know that I fielded several phone calls and or emails and or Facebook reach outs for people we turned away. And I want to say, could you put a number, I want to say I saw upwards of 10 to 15 people that reached out.
So just on the Facebook page through messages, I want to say there was probably 12 to 15 vendors that we turned away. But then because my email was sort of out there as the contact person, I would say I easily sent away another 12 to 17.
Wow.
So
we're talking about 25 vendors.
And not all of them would have been
Met the criteria.
the criteria for our event, because we're looking for artisan, homemade, or, not home-based business plans or MLMs or things like that. So not everyone would have met the criteria. There was some on the Facebook page where it was, I sell Lularoe or something like that. But it was a huge amount of people that we did end up needing to turn away.
And I did get one phone call, and I did explain to him. He was asking why we didn't use the Shopper's Guide or Turnpike Buyer to elicit vendors, and
Because we don't need to.
So I said we didn't need to, but I said we choose, because we do fundraise our money and our funds, that we choose to use Shopper's Guide and Turnpike Buyer to get customers to come, so to get the community to come. So, that was a consideration. And then I did ask for their email address, because I know that we do blast out the application process, be it email to all former vendors. Can you add to your recommendation list, since we are re-entering, we're not in the annual, so now we're going back to annual. Are we going to offer the first come, remember how?
Existing,
Yeah, remember how we did you got a month notice
Yeah.
for people who had previously participated, and then we blasted it out to
To new
to
people.
open it up to new
Yeah, I mean,
vendors?
I'm certainly, especially if we have a larger space, I'm certainly open to doing that. And then the other thing I was just thinking of is one of the comments was, you know, why are there so many soap vendors or something? So in the application, I want to include in there that we don't discriminate and we don't limit vendor types, and that we want the consumers to be able to
I think that's a great idea, because
choose
I
who
got
they
that
wish
feedback
to
as
purchase.
well.
Yeah, so, but yeah, I'm completely open to, you know, having the previous vendors have sort of first dibs to get a spot and then opening
And I
it
will
up to
say you
the
did an
public.
amazing job, Sherry, stretching out similar vendors.
Thank you.
So, you know, that was very noticeable, that, you know, they weren't next to each other, you know, there wasn't 3 beef vendors, I'll speak for myself, you know. I really don't care, but there wasn't anybody all piled onto each other, so that did help. I do know that our space constricted us, and so we're very appreciative that the town hall was so willing and open to letting us have our market. But there was a couple vendors who I think felt very isolated. And I feel bad that they walked away with that taste in their mouth, but I hope that they would consider coming back.
One of them probably won't because he was from out of state anyways.
Okay.
But the tie-dye one,
Okay.
they were local to Danielson.
And then a thought I have, and maybe if anyone else wants to weigh in, I'm thinking about the public school and trying to get onto their calendar and to start having conversations with the public schools about having outside. I mean, I don't even know if they've lifted their restrictions yet about, they have, thank you.
They have, because they're allowing volunteers. in the classroom.
Okay. Because I'm thinking maybe that would be really good summer work, because the schools there's no staff, you know, students are
Yeah,
staff
so
in
if
school.
we do decide to move it to February, that sort of pushes my timeline up, because when I go for March, for a March event, I'm sending in the past prior vendors, you know, the end of October. So, and then giving them all until the end of November, and then sort of opening it up to new people in December, and then usually cutting off in February. So it just sort of pushes my timeline ahead a little bit.
Well, there's no time like the present, so I appreciate your report. Do we have a motion? Will someone consider entertaining a motion about, for moving the winter market to February?
I'd like to make a motion to move the winter market to February.
Or in second set, so let's have some discussion on moving the winter market to February. I thought of you right away, Mr. Vern. Vern has been unable to attend our winter market because it coincides with his Connecticut.
And that's another reason why I moved
There
the
you go.
ordinance.
Thank you very much.
Because Vernon has made it very clear he would love to participate, but.
And that will
was not
help
able
him.
to.
So, is there anyone who has yays or nays for shifting it to February?
No, it makes it more true to its name.
Yeah, the winter market. At least then they'll understand why there's no vegetables.
Maybe.
That is the biggest complaint.
It is, and we've gotten that feedback a lot. Why is there no fresh veggies? So, any further discussion then on having a motion to move the winter market to February? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor of moving the winter market to February, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So Sherry, I think that motion will cover your ability to reach out to Plainfield Public Schools and kind of figure out dates that they might have available
Sure.
and willingness. That would be great. Any other motions that you may need to move on that, or that's good for just?
I think it's a.
Okay. Excellent. And again,
Excellent job.
yes, you did. Hours and hours. I don't think we can add it up of what Sherry puts into this market. Moving on, right to farm. So I included in your packet this month, it is a letter to the Town of Manchester's Planning and Zoning Commission. I I also provided the backstory if you had a chance to read it, but in a nutshell, it was a farmer that had been in the town for 60 years. So we're not talking about a new farmer, we're talking about someone who had been there quite some time, and a new neighbor wasn't thrilled with what that farmer was doing, even though the farmer was well within their current jurisdiction. They were able to convince their town planning and zoning department to reconsider writing their zoning regulations for farming. I bring this up tonight because I thought how timely that we talk about the right to farm. And unfortunately, I did not grab all of my Joan Nichols. So for new people and for people watching, Joan Nichols is the acting president of the Connecticut Farm Bureau, which a lot of us pay membership to. They help advocate, they help support, they stay on top of any legislation that may be moving at the local government, federal government levels that impact agriculture. So she had written, because initially when we talked about considering right to farm ordinance, there was a lot of question about, well, why do we do it when the state of Connecticut already has one? So back in 1981, under Governor O'Neill, CGS section 19A-341 is the right to farm. And so what it does is it protects farmers against odor, noise, dust, chemical use, and water pollution, so long as the farmer is not being negligent in those areas. So, if the farmer is intentionally letting water run off, that's different. But so long as the farmer is doing it within the realm that's allowed, they are protected. So Joan wrote a letter to our commission to explain why, and now it becomes more relevant. When your town adopts the right to farm ordinance, it is another layer of protection that says our community believes in agriculture, believes that these people have a right to be here, regardless of who moves in and out of our communities. This also includes new farmers, so I don't want you to think it has to be an existing farm that is covered under it. The right to farm covers farms that are a year old or more. So if you're a new farmer, you have to get through that first year, but then you are now covered under that. So I think this for me highlights a pivotal point that we've kind of kept quiet because we do know that it can come with a financial burden to the town, but if we plan properly and appropriately, there is the potential that we could piggyback off of another ordinance or another referendum that might have to go to vote, because this would have to be agreed on and voted on by the town. A change in an ordinance is not something that we as a commission have the authority to do. We'd have to obviously follow all the proper channels. So I'm suggesting at this point that we move forward in investigating other right to farm ordinances, reach out to the selectmen and start discussing, what our options are, and then maybe coming up with a timeline of what we could expect for this project. Not a hard fast, it has to be done by X, but a timeline that says, given some flexibility, maybe we can have it happen on the next, vote for something or whatever. So I don't know if anybody wants to entertain a motion that we move forward with our right to farm ordinance here in town.
So do we actually need to make a motion for that, since that's one of our goals for the commission?
I'm not entirely sure. Anybody? No, we can move on since it's a goal and objective?
With your objectives, it's fine.
Okay.
You and I spoke about this already. I'll be reaching out once I have emailing it to the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities. Max Freeman's my guy who usually helps us out with things like that. I will ask other towns and municipalities that have an ordinance similar to that what they have and where they're from. So can I take a look at them? And he usually gets back to us with what they have.
Yeah, there's only 13 in the state of Connecticut, so it's not very many.
Once it's brought back to me, I'll print that off and give it to this board, and you can, adopt what you think is a fair ordinance for the town to bring it to the selectmen and go from there.
All right, and I did share that, and I don't know if it's of the 13, but some communities did it in conjunction with their agriculture commissions. So for example, Woodstock, Connecticut we're Ordinance 123 in Plainfield for our Ag Commission. They did Ag Commission and Right to Farm, so their language is all lumped together in one ordinance. So some of them chose to do it together, we are separate. So we'll continue if everybody is willing, and we don't need a motion, thank you very much, to pursue that with pulling together a package for the selectmen. Okay? Anything else on Right to Farm? Okay, Chris. Thank you very much.
I'm more of a placeholder there than anything.
All right, farmer's market, I don't believe we have any updates for this. We did want to talk today about, as we mentioned at the last meeting, this was about starting to come up with a list of ideas that we could perhaps have ready and available for the selectmen should any projects move forward or need guidance or advice. So as you may recall, the town of Plainfield and the selectmen have been looking at the annex building, and so it was stemmed out of discussion that took place. Obviously that situation is not in its full resolution yet, but that there could be opportunities that could tie in the possibility of a farmer's market. So I didn't know, if this committee wants to do some work now, or if we want to think about how we want to structure the conversation for it. I'll pause and give everybody a minute.
Give a minute to think about the question. This, the most important thing is gonna get the area cleaned up before we even start. I guess we can measure it and see what.
Yeah, definitely space. I know we as a commission have always agreed, and please correct me if we have new members, so we as a commission have always felt that this, whatever happens with a farmer's market, if a permanent structure is erected, that it is not just a farmer's market. We feel very strongly that this should be a community place and a community opportunity that people can go to. So, we certainly welcome new thoughts. We don't want our new commission members to feel like things that we've established in the past are hard fast, but that's something that we do feel is in the best interest of our town, is that this is not like just the farmer's market, and that wouldn't be fruitful to have just a place that is just for one thing. Something I would like to add to the list is, and some people hate this word, but I'm just going to use it, a market master. So if we actually talk about a farmer's market, we still have on the table the difference between the Northeast Connecticut Farmers Market versus an independent market run by the town of Plainfield. So there is a lot of misconceptions that the current market is operated by the town, and it is not. That is run by the Northeast Connecticut Farmers Market. So I think that is definitely a point of discussion. Is this an opportunity to consider having a market master? How big do we want to expand on this concept? I know that.
Well, it gives other farms a better opportunity to participate.
Thank you, Jen.
Right?
Yep, it absolutely does. So right now, the Northeast Connecticut Farmers Market has an application process. They price fix. They limit the vendors who can come. So we have had Plainfield farmers who have applied for the Northeast Connecticut Farmers Market to participate in the Plainfield market and have been denied. And so that isn't what we stand for as a commission. That's not our mission and vision. Our mission is all agriculture belongs, and it's up to the consumer to decide who gets what, who buys where. So, we do feel strongly that we would love to see our own independent market, but that is a very big, big undertaking.
Speaking especially in terms of liability, so each of those farmers who would be coming to our independent market would still need to carry liability insurance.
Correct. I've interviewed many who have done it. I have interviewed the Red Velvet Mill Market. Is that considered a market master? No, but is that considered the market master? I think they go by.
Stonington Farmers
I
Market.
think they go by a different title.
That's all
don't they?
changed now.
So I also reached out to Putnam, because Putnam has a similar venue, kind of over the top, but has a similar venue. where they have a Putnam farmer's market, and then they have a Northeast Connecticut farmer's market during the same week. Yep, it's 2 different days, so I don't even know if people who went there would know the difference, but they do run their own. And they have a person, so when I say market master, it does require someone very similar to what our Sherry Harmon does. I'm not saying it needs to be you, but it does, and those are sometimes volunteer positions initially, but they should be paid positions at some point. So like there's a need that's time that a person has to invest. It's not the Stonington market, the Coventry market does themes, I think, and they
Paul
do.
knows more about
They
that.
do
He goes to that
themes,
one.
I think, where their market master sets up themes, and not every market, but like one market a month or whatever has a different theme. So there's lots of opportunity to draw people in with creativity, draw kids in, which I think is what we want. We want people to come out, we want people to celebrate Plainfield, our community, and the agriculture that's around us. So I think that's all points to consider.
Yes, yes.
Thanks for silencing your phone. Anybody else has some initial thoughts? Yes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you don't mind, just a couple things. I think someone already said it. You want to go out and look to measure the space that you would have. I would also make a suggestion that you also take some road trips this year to see how different markets run. Like you said, Putnam, that was one of the ideas I was thinking of. Putnam has both your own and the Northeast market. My question would be, if you were going to be running your own, would you also do the similar things that are being done right now with SNAP availability? Is that something that you can tie into?
We can. That is, so the way the Northeast Connecticut Farmers Market, I believe that is a requirement. I believe, don't 100% quote me, but I believe that they have to accept SNAP benefits. As I shared in a previous meeting, I struggled on our own farm to get SNAP benefits. I don't know if it was the timing that COVID had just happened, but we had reached out and tried to do it, and it was difficult, and we kind of just thrown the towel. I don't know if we, I hate to say that things have to be a requirement. So, I think we, yes, it's absolutely positive because we want people to have access to food regardless of their budgetary, fixed budgets at home. So I don't think it's something that we have to avoid, but I don't know if it's something that we should say is a requirement either. Maybe an encouraged concept. And maybe people don't know, don't know that it's an option that they can do. Suggestion.
I'm definitely going to, as a road trip, as a group, to go to see Putnam. Because once you get an idea of how big that space is and the items that are there, so if they have electricity, do they have running water, do they have a bathroom? Those are things you want to consider. So when we're talking about the plans for the future, what is it you're really looking for that will cover and support everybody? And your idea about having multiple types of venues there is really what we're looking at. It's just, I think the toughest point in that discussion would be how many days of the week are there and what can you actually accomplish? Because there's a lot of different places that want to have different craft fairs, and of course you're a farmer's market, and you'd have to have a market master to schedule all those things out. So as soon as you said that, I'm thinking, oh great, here we go with the budget again. We're going to have another.
I'm just throwing it out there that it's a very real job that shouldn't be considered it's easy. Like it just doesn't happen. Like people just didn't come to the winter market.
Yep.
It was a huge level.
That's something for discussion for future, but I entertain that discussion.
Yeah. The other thing you bring up in Putnam, if I recall correctly, because I reached out to a bunch of different farmers market, I believe it's their town planner who oversees the market, which is an interesting structure. So I just throw that out there. I will confirm that for next meeting. I will reach out to her to find, I think it was a woman, to find out what day of the week is their own market, because I think it's important that we see both. So I will find that information out for the next meeting.
Do Do you know if they rent that out to the Northeast Connecticut Farmers Market and it's free to the town, or how do they work it?
So I don't think they rent it, same as what we do. So in the town of Plainfield, it's kind of like we offer a space for the Northeast Connecticut Farmers Market, and the space that is currently being offered in Plainfield is the Early Childhood Buildings parking lot. So I think it's the same, we're gonna offer you this space versus rent it to them.
Sure. So it becomes a burden on the taxpayer, not a burden, but it becomes the responsibility of the taxpayers to keep that budget available to the town for use.
Correct. I don't know how much Putnam's is used for other things. I know that during COVID, they did some of their testing. They used it for distribution, so they took advantage of the fact that they had a pavilion. So I happen to be up in that neck of the woods, so I do see that they use it often. I haven't ever, though, seen them have like picnic tables or like Boy Scout, Girl Scout events there, and I think that would be a wonderful concept to allow is, actual like gatherings. But I have not seen that at the Putnam one. I haven't even seen tables actually there, ever.
It's not out of the realm of doing that, because we could put those out and have them in a storage area locked down after the fact. So it opens up more possibilities. As far as anything burdening the taxpayer, by the way, just to go backtrack a little bit, our grant writer was looking at opportunities for grants, using some of the money from, if we did the demolition of the annex, utilizing those monies from the annex demolition to go towards a matching grant. So, like anything else in any town, once you own something, you then have to pay for the maintenance later on. And while it's very generous of people to donate things, like maybe the gazebo was donated by the Lions Club, at that point then it becomes a responsibility of the town to do the maintenance at that point. So we anticipate that in the future, but we also look at that structure, and again, mirroring it to what Putnam has, that isn't a big maintenance item for a structure. So it's something we would look at as a low cost for maintenance in the future, but it brings back so much value to the residents. And I also like the fact that when I mentioned the SNAP, one of the grants that the grant writer is looking for is something that tells those people offering the money for the grant, the area that is right now would constitute for people who don't have immediate access to a place to get fresh food. And while it's not year-round, it's still an opportunity. They go over to the the small convenience store there down the road, but there's not a lot of real opportunities to walk to get food. So that was one of the things that was a big sell on the grant. We actually talked to those people from who were offering the grant, and that's what they liked about it as well. You can go to any of the village around here, and it's a short drive to any of these convenience or grocery stores. Up in Warwick, and it's really kind of quiet. So.
May I ask a question? Since it is sort of closer to Oregon, will there be sidewalks installed to walk from Oregon to where the annex is? I know that
That's in
this
addition.
is sort of like
Yeah, we have plans for a three-phase. One of them is in front of the gas station going up Shepherd Hill and down, just past the school. Phase 2, which I prefer going first, but that's the way the grant was written. We're going to go up 205 to meet it. There'll be a crosswalk area across the street. The third one is East Shepherd Hill, but we're talking about in one of those phases adding that last piece that should have been in there. So it'll be a big help.
Okay, I'm keeping an eye on the time. So I see our agenda's big tonight. So what we'll do is we'll continue to have discussion on this. We'll continue to make lists of ideas, and I will reach out, like I said, to Putnam to organize when we can get up there and start seeing them. If anybody doesn't have any other pressing items to have on this section, I suggest. Vern, any movement on your project for Plainfield farming history?
A little bit. My contact with DWP came through for me, and I got copies of the deeds that the state has. Basically, there's 5 pieces of land up there that are part of Patch Out Forest. And looking through this, I picked the 2 easy ones, which are listed in here as the exact page in the town hall where you can find that information for the deed. And I started looking through those 2 deeds. I lost one of them about 1911, and I lost another one around 1890 something. So again, this is very, very complicated. The other 3 pieces of land, I need to really dig through a little bit more and figure out which one of these are talking about. I'm hoping to get some help from the town clerk. Maybe Mrs. Tracus was suggested by the, as a helper, potential helper from Mrs. Bergeron, the head of the Historical Society, suggested her. Again, I'm reading stuff in there that I can't quite exactly interpret. I need somebody that knows more about it to help me interpret it. And again, that's about where I'm at. I didn't think this was going to be easy, but again, I didn't think it would
Gonna be what it was.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where I'm at right now.
Excellent. Well,
Some
you know,
progress, but
a fun and, daunting project all at the same
Yeah.
time.
and again, realize this, according to DEP, there's 9 miles of stone walls in that 400 or so acres piece of it. So there's a bunch of farms once upon a time, and we're talking 17, whatever, when they first started.
And to think it was probably clear is always what I get. Isn't that, I always just sit there in awe that the wooded areas were not wooded. And how it must have just been so impressive to see the hills.
Just to give an example, that one of these pieces that I was tracing, again, they reverted to the state in the late 1930s. One of these pieces that I was tracing, between 1930 and when I lost it, 1910 or 11, it changed hands like 7 times. And then I lost it. And then again, I need somebody that can interpret this better than me to figure out what happened to it.
Well, we love hearing about it, Bernie. We can't wait to see where it takes you.
Yeah.
It said 1890, you said.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much. The open space project, I'm going to pull this off the agenda. I'm sorry I hadn't. We had put this kind of here as a placeholder, but it's not really, does not really pertain to the commission. I had kind of thrown it on there because I didn't want to forget about it. But I will make one statement. If anyone is interested in getting on the open space Kate Downing Road Committee, the selectmen are accepting applications to direct them to the selectman's office. And in the time being, it might be advantageous to hand deliver them if you are considering that in the next couple days.
Is there application items?
No application,
Just a
it
letter.
is, just a letter of intent, and please include your political party. So name, letter of intent to be part of the open space committee, and make sure you include your political party. So moving forward, I'm going to pull this off the agenda. Community events, anything happening?
Today's National Ag Day.
I know, or yesterday, was it yesterday or was it today? Oh my goodness. Shucks. Thank you, Sherry. I know, look at us.
We did do a Facebook post on that, so.
I'll get on Facebook at midnight. That's what I'll have there. Awesome, thank you very much for doing us a Facebook post, Sherry. Appreciate you for being on top of national days.
I went to my daughter's kindergarten class last week and I knew about how I'm shocked. I talked for about an hour about chicks and hatching chicks and development,
Awesome.
reproduction. It's fun. And
What
now
school
they're,
is that?
Charles H. Barrow STEM Academy.
And did they love it? Awesome.
I told them all the fun, gross things. I made sure it was alright to teach it first. Well, most of it. I surprised her with one, but she was.
She went with the flow.
She liked it. But, so there's eggs that'll be hatching in there next Wednesday.
Nice.
It was better than the one upstairs.
You make me think about those the bookshelves we purchased. We should check in with the schools to see if they still exist in their libraries.
They do at Shepherd Hill, as
Well,
far as I know.
That's great. I was just
At least
looking over
last
some of
time
our
I was there,
stuff.
so.
Yeah. Excellent, Chris. Great job.
So we collected roughly a little over 1,000 gallons of sap. And according to my brother, it's somewhere around 10 gallons of syrup or something like that. I didn't get more boiling to do. But basically the sap stopped running about a week ago. And it's done. The Connecticut is pretty much it's done. Vermont is going like crazy, but Connecticut overrun for
Meet Your Farmer was on Saturday. I don't know if anyone had an opportunity to go to that in Willimantic. I think it was the Elks Lodge, if I'm recalling correctly. That was over the weekend. Any other community events? Okay. Up next in new business, we received written correspondence from a citizen, Art Gagney in town. I included it in your packet. So we thank you for that. If any commission members have any questions that they would like to ask him, he leaves his contact information at the end, so please feel free to reach out for further discussion regarding it.
Just a clarification, 4 minutes, Art's letter, does that get included in our
Yes.
minutes as
Yep.
well?
So if you need that, you have that as a
I have
attachment?
it as a
Okay,
PDF.
perfect. Will you be able to put it in easily?
I can prefer PDF
Okay,
to Word
perfect.
document.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Hearing no discussion, we'll move on. And I'm going to be perfectly honest, so new business, I have committee review and short and long-term goal reflection. So I guess the good news is that I forgot to bring everything with me tonight. So I would like to have a motion that we move that to the next agenda.
Committee review and short.
And short and long-term.
I move to do committee review and short and long-term goal reflections to the next meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? I apologize, it's the discussion. All in favor say aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? So we will move committee review and short and long-term goal reflection to the next meeting. We're up to public comment.
I have a couple. Concerning your vote to move your winter market to February, the only thing you have to remember is that February weather's a lot more capricious than March is. It could be a big drawback. And the other comment I have, if there is ever going to be a farmer's market, the worst markets I've ever been in have been run by the farmers. So a farmer's advisory committee for a market is a good idea, but farmers running the market is a crappy idea.
Paul, would you be able to, I know you participate in a couple markets, would you be able to either send them to me via email and then we can reach out to those particular markets directly and hear the yays and nays of what makes them tick? Okay, excellent. No, both points well taken. Thank you very much for sharing.
There's a reason we're farmers, not.
Yeah, this is right. We're not salespeople.
What are the best markets you go to? Top 2.
Best markets you go to.
Best.
Best.
We go Stonington, Coventry, Mystic, Lisbon. In the past, we've done some other ones, but the ones that we don't do now have been farmer run.
Which are the best 2?
Coventry and Stonington.
Has an
But they're
amazing-
2 entirely different markets. They're just, it's night and day between the 2. Coventry's a huge market. It's financially successful for me, but Stonington is a smaller market. It's also financially successful for me. Different clientele between the 2, different modes of operation between the 2. Coventry has got, as Jenny mentioned, has got events every week. Every week has a theme. Stonington, we never have a theme other than the fact that we don't quit. Stonington's year-round, indoor or out. They're every Saturday except when it's on Christmas and New Year's, we're there. Either in the Velvet Mill or outside the Velvet Mill.
Last year we were outside most of the time. Right
No,
till
the year
winter.
before.
Oh, the year before.
Year before,
Okay,
when the first pandemic first started.
Yes,
The
We were
Stonington
outside.
Village Improvement Association, which is the oversight agency, decided that the market was canceled until further notice. And there was 5 farmers who said,
no,
gee, I think people still have to eat and they don't want to go to the grocery store. So we set up as independent vendors, and the following week the market was reinstituted. but it was outdoors starting in March. It was a rough go.
Winter,
Didn't go back in until December,
it's fine.
but we got lucky. We had one rainy day out of all that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely
It was
amazing.
sad, too.
Well, I appreciate your feedback. Definitely points, and I've written a couple down to add it when we talk about it next month during the farmers market discussion to make sure that some of those points are included in our list. So thank you very much. Any other public comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for considering my letter, and I hope to see you on April 12th at the public hearing.
Yes, thank
Thank
you
you.
for sending the correspondence. And like I said, everybody has access to it, so
So it's April 12th, you just said?
April 12th, 7 p.m.
excellent, awesome. We appreciate it. Anything else? Okay. Okay, all right. I'd like to remind everybody, the next meeting will be a regular meeting on Wednesday night, April 27th at 7 p.m. And I just need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:51 p.m. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?